All right. So consistency isn't just, we get every call exactly the same every time or, all that, but it's coaches, players, fans, everybody can expect a certain level of consistency from us in what we do, how we go about doing our job, how we're adjudicating those fouls, that there's not a lot of confusion. And in my mind, sometimes that consistency starts in the little things, kind of the devil's in the details. So every week we'll be talking about different things to help us be more consistent as officials within our crews, within the DLOA, and then, in the lacrosse officiating community as a whole. And I think that's getting more and more important, especially for us as we get more and more games coming in to places like the turf facility in Kirkwood and UD, and a lot of our guys are going out and doing games for other groups. I think it's very important that we're consistent with what they're doing. So, so as far as general business today, Dean, are you on?
No, he's working at the 76ers facility.
Well, who assigned him on the day of a meeting? All right.
Jim
I'm,
Powers.
I'm pretty sure I'm kidding, JP. Don't take it personally. I'm pretty sure everything financially is the same with us. I know he's looking to get the last couple guys registered as we've added a guy or two here and there. But I think everything's good with us financially right now, and Dean's doing a great job. If you haven't paid dues, if you don't have a rule book, anything like that, get a hold of Dean, let him know what's going on, and he'll take care of that. Okay. So anyway, before we go to the assigners report, JP is going to share some statistics with you guys, and I'm going to jump the gun on them. Is that okay, JP?
Yeah.
Because I'm baffled. I'm a little pissed. So JP's been very busy this week getting your schedules together, getting them out. It's a lot of work, making sure everything matches up and in line. And at this point, 20% of the games assigned have been declined. That means 1 out of every 5 assignments is being declined. 33% of the games assigned haven't been accepted or declined. So that means there's another almost 15% of the games out there that nobody's taken action on. And with that, at this point, he hasn't even assigned 21% of the middle school games because we don't even know, based on what's going on, if there's enough guys to cover. So before JP comes on, I do want to let you know the declines. We've talked for 3 years now about getting your blocks in, talking to JP, blocking, if you can't start till 4:00, making sure JP understands that the blocks are in place, all that. JP is the nicest assigner out there. The guy I work with in Baltimore, he'll say, you don't have your block in, fuck you, you're done. And he's serious about it. He'll tell you dead up, that's your fault. Now you lost a game, you lost that day. JP is very willing to work with guys, but when you're turning back an entire schedule because you didn't block that you were, you didn't go off work till 4:30, or you had kids activities, or all kinds of different things, and you're turning back more than a couple of games on your schedule. That's not. I have a tough time saying that's forgivable. That's understandable. And JP and I have talked, and from this point forward, we're going to keep score. And if you're the big decliner guy, when it comes to moving up, higher level assignments, playoffs, summer stuff, all that, it's going to become very difficult. And it's preventable because the arbiter allows you to block games, because JP asks you to fill out an availability report. All those tools are there. So it's ridiculous as a group that 1 out of every 5 games end up getting declined. So with that, I'll let JP go. JP, assigners report.
Everything has, like Greg just said, every game except for middle school has been assigned. Yes, there are some very heavy days. I sent that out in the email a couple days ago. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do those days, guys. If you can work those days, you got to let me know. I believe it was like the April 2nd, 5th, 7th, and then the 21st, 27th, and 28th. I'll send it out again, but there are middle school games that are just sitting there. Greg and I did talk about that. I'm going to have to call the middle school ADs and tell them what's going on. There are going to be middle school games that are one-man games. There is nothing I can do about that. We're going to have to get them covered. We will get them covered. Some of them will be switched. Along with that, you may be working a JV game of a doubleheader by yourself, and your partner may not get there until the start of the varsity game. If that happens, you'll have plenty of notice. The coaches of both teams will have plenty of notice. The ADs of both teams will have plenty of notice. We are in trouble this year, not because of losing guys, but simply because our applicant class just isn't there this year. We do still have some new guys coming on, but we don't have the applicants that we've had in years past. That is no one's fault. We had a class of 9. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. It was about 9.
Yep.
2 of them are coaches that are planning for the future, that are hoping to join us in the next couple of years. Some of them had work commitments that they just couldn't get to the applicant classes. Some of them are SLOA guys that are just coming over, or they're taking the applicant class over there also. So we're in trouble as far as the middle school games, because that was their proving ground, and we don't have that anymore. So that falls on the rest of us. Those of you that did have received middle school games, you see that they're very close to your house, hopefully. Some of them I couldn't help, but I try to keep you within 20 miles. Most of them are 3 to 10 miles, and you probably are there 4 or 5 times because that's just what I had to do. Like Greg said, it is tough when, 1 out of every 5 games is coming back to me. I have not started to reassign yet, so some of you that are already loaded down with a ton of games are probably going to get even more games. There are some guys that are working 4 out of 5 weekdays. There are not a ton of Saturday games, but if you want to work, you're going to work. And if you have availability, you have to get it filled out. I do understand that I did forego some of your blocks. Some people had in blocks that you couldn't get there till 4 o'clock. It's my hope that it's far enough in advance that you could work with me. And if you can't, I do completely understand that. But some of the blocks that are coming back, the majority of the blocks that are coming back, or the declines that are coming back, you were available. Your name was there. There was no block. I gave you the game. You finally went in and checked your schedule, and then you turned back, more than 3 or 4 games, which is, if you had to work, your block should have been in. I'm just going to keep assigning and sending games out, and we'll get through it. But this is the worst it's been in quite a few years. That's all I got.
So please be understanding of that. What happens now is it means everybody's got to be flexible. Like JP said, he'll have guys running all over. He'll do a middle school game and then maybe run over and be even just the second in a varsity game. Or we might have 2 guys coming over to do a varsity game after a JV game. So you may see changes in your schedule, and that's all a result of all these turnbacks. Please, if you don't do anything, tonight or tomorrow morning, go through your schedule, go through your blocks, get them set. And let JP know if you have a block on a time and you maybe, he can blow through that, let him know that. Otherwise, he's kind of stuck. So, like he said, the applicant class hasn't panned out. We do have, a couple guys coming up from Cecil County who are going to work. I did get a call the other day from a guy who just retired down to Dagsboro from New York, who has quite a bit of experience. I don't know that he wants to come in and work 5 days a week. But there's a little bit there. And then there's there's really two applicants, new officials. And the good news for them is if they have availability, they'll get tons of experience. Mike, I'm going to get you the mentorship information this week. Do you have anything else? Mike Wilbur?
He's on the phone. I don't know if he can.
Yeah, I know there's some problems. Somebody else texted me and said they're having a hard time communicating. Mike, if there's anything else you need to report, just text me and I'll pass it along. And then Mike Hernandez, youth lacrosse. He had his, I know the first class was today, so, and that was pretty successful. So we can start with good news there. So Mike.
Yeah, we had our first class today. Had about probably 12 to 14 guys. The season starts on March 29th. They do not play on Easter. I've already gotten several people who told me they can work. If you haven't worked for me in the past for youth and you would like to, please let me know. If you have worked before, you don't have to worry. I have you on the list. And I'll send out those schedules accordingly the week prior to figure out people's availability. I also have some training. I might be getting in touch with some of you guys to help out. That's all I got.
Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to add for Mike is we've had some talks with the DYLA in particular. So if you're working youth games, we're really looking for you to be a mentor. So please be honest with Mike. If you're willing to be out there and help the youth officials, that's great. But we don't, if you're there for simply for the check or the money, we're going to have a conversation. We want to make sure that while we're doing this, we're also properly training the youth officials, because the youth officials ultimately go down and work games on their own. And if they're not well trained and on their own, it looks bad on everybody. So please make sure if you're doing those games that you're there with the intent of both, collecting a fee and helping our youth officials in developing relationships. Meeting schedule.
Greg, can I come in on that?
Yes.
It's Frank Fry.
Okay.
Listen, the youth, I know Mike is aware of this, and I'm speaking for DYLA now. If there are seasoned high school officials who really don't want to put the stripes on a Sunday afternoon, we're looking for some way to have some evaluators go out and watch the 8U and 10U games, literally standing on the sideline, walking up and down, maybe doing a little bit of paperwork, but getting paid to do it. I'm proposing $25 a game to watch these 40-minute games and then talk to the youth officials. So nothing is set in stone yet, but if there are guys that don't want to go out and run around on a Sunday afternoon, this would be an easy way to pick up maybe $50.
Yep. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, Mike and I talked about that a little bit today, and kind of starting exactly how we would, make sure that those evaluators, were the right guys, and they were trained in what we were looking to get out of it. But I think that's going to be a good opportunity, and I hope as we move forward in the future that helps continue our program as far as bringing guys in for our group. All right, so this is our February 23rd meeting. March the 8th, don't forget, on-field training, UD practice fields, very successful last year. We'd like to have everybody out there. We're planning a good day. It's particularly going to be important this year because of the change in the restarts. We want to make sure we're very consistent with how we're administrating that and everybody has a good understanding. So make sure that Sunday is on your calendar. I'll be hitting Jack Barron up pretty soon. I guess since we're ending at 11, it'll be called a brunch, but we'll definitely have a foodatory reward at the end.
You said that was 8 to 11? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
You said time?
8 to 11.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And then we'll have two more meetings. March 22nd will be an online meeting. April the 5th Will most likely be online. Right now it's listed as being at Troop 2. That's going to be our election meeting. I'll talk about that in a minute. Everything is set now for June 3rd.
Greg, if you're flipping the slides, we're not seeing it. I'm still seeing the very first slide.
You are?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. What the hell's going on? Let me try again. Do you see the schedule now?
Yep, that's better.
All right. Thank you. So is there anything you guys missed? No, we're good. All right. June 3rd, DLOA banquet. That's all set for 6 p.m. that evening at Mapledale Country Club, the same place we've held it the last few years. Assuming the weather cooperates the next few weeks and we get all these play days in, there'll be no charge for our members again. And then Mike Barlotta will be hitting everybody up for the golf outing. I don't find golf fun because it's an exercise in frustration for me. And I only have like a 5-iron left after my last time. So, but for you guys who like to play golf, it's a great time. I know Mike does a very good job putting that together. It's a great fellowship opportunity. And then we'll have the banquet and the senior all-star game the following week. Like I said before, that meeting on April the 5th, election year. This is the odd year. So every officer position is up: president, vice president, treasurer, upstate, downstate. They're all up for election. Frank Fry is our election chair. Probably the middle of March. He'll be sending some emails out asking for nominations. He'll put together a ballot, and then we'll have the election. Again, the April 5th meeting is the election meeting. It's looking like we will probably do most of those ballots online. And then that slate, the slate that wins, they would actually take office at the end of the summer season. So basically August 1st. Just a reminder about our DIAA requirements, the concussion course. Make sure you're getting on that. It doesn't take that long to take the course. You have to take it every 2 years. The first meeting at Troop 2, we kind of gave everybody indication of where they stood with that. Mike Hernandez will be reaching out if you need to complete that course. Please get that done. That's a requirement to be on the field for the DIAA. So any of these high school, middle school, JV, freshman games coming up, you have to have that done before you can step on the field. The Federation test starts March 23rd to April 23rd. Definitely be some emails coming out when we get closer to get you to take that. Again, that's a requirement, both for the DIAA and for our association, and that'll be available on the DIAA Central Hub. I think the practice test is probably up. So there's a test like number 1 that you can practice and take if you want. Again, my suggestion is always go to US Lacrosse and take their test. And that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You get some practice in the rules, and you fill out that, you get that requirement out of the way for this year for your US Lacrosse requirements. Here's all our DLOA information. This is kind of just an extra slide. Make sure you're getting notifications on the Crew app. More and more stuff is coming out, and being what JP has reported, it's going to be pretty important that everybody's wired into that once the games start, just to make sure we have everything covered. US Lacrosse certification. If you have any questions, give me a call. Everybody should be working. The big thing every year is making sure you get the tests. If you're not sure your level, you want to move up a level, give me a shout. We'll make sure you get observed. So, anybody have any questions about any of that? All right, that concludes the business part of our meeting. I kind of wanted to start, usually at the end, I ask for questions, feedback, rules interpretations, anything like that you all have. Kind of felt like maybe we should start at the beginning, just in case guys start to check out or fade out, and you had a question on your mind you wanted to ask. I wanted to do that before I start the training portion of the meeting. So if you have a question, fire away. Really? Okay. All right. So striving for consistency, our 2020 theme. So I kind of thought I would talk about a list of my pet peeves on the field. And one of them is probably, I think I spelled peeves wrong, but I don't know. Anyway, I made up a list of kind of my little pet peeves, things that bother me. You know, everybody has their pet peeves. You know, things that just kind of eat at you when you see it, whether you're the referee, the umpire, just an official. If I see it on TV when I'm watching a game, you know, these are the kind of things that bother me. So uniforms, and I'm going to go over each one: tidy boxes, dead ball officiating, exit plans, player behavior, particularly how we assess conduct fouls, and then everybody's favorite, the GLE hanger outers. So uniforms, and I talk about this every year, you know, clean and crisp. I get it. This year, some guys will be working every day. You're not going to get your uniform totally cleaned every day, but you know, make sure, you know, every couple years you're buying a new hat, so you don't go out with the Hershey bar looking hat. You know, everything's kind of nice and clean. If it's starting to smell a little bit, you know, at least rinse it out. Um, you know, it just looks good when you walk on the field. Everything should be tucked in. Things shouldn't be hanging out. Always matching your partners. All black shoes. You know, we still have a few guys who walk around with white stripes or anything like that. There's plenty of options now for all black shoes. You know, some really nice running shoes and shoes that are very comfortable. You don't have to get the big old leather shoes and try to run around in those. The correct patches. And our policy is that you don't have to have any patches, but if you do, the DIAA patch, our DLOA patch, the US lacrosse patch, or a patch from an association you're still currently a member of. So, you know, we have a bunch of us who do games for all different associations. It's kind of tough sometimes to have all the, you know, the right patches. So if you're, you know, if you're in SLOA, you're in the Bayside group, you know, and they have a patch and you show up with that, that's okay. Ryan, go ahead, ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I don't know if this was a part of the question. I was watching a game this weekend, and a guy went down to the ground, and there was a little bit of a tussle. A guy with the ball, nothing illegal, but his helmet came off, and it was clearly a situation where the chin strap, it was attached, but it wasn't tight enough. Is that an equipment violation? What happened in the game, and this was an NCAA game, the ref just stopped the play and gave the team the ball that had the ball in the alley. So what's the correct call on that? It seems to me that he's not wearing he is not properly equipped.
Sell that to the coach when his helmet came off.
They talked about that in the Penn State game too. If the player has the ball when their shoe comes off or their glove comes off, the Penn State game, a kid's glove went flying.
Hey, can I ask you guys one question? Can we go back to this at the end? Because I'm kind of in the middle of something. Or when I get done with this section, we'll go to that. Because this has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about
no
correct patches and coats. And all of a sudden, we're going to change the subject. I shouldn't, you know, it's a little aggravating. So if I'll get back to it. It's a super legitimate question. And I'll get back to it. But I don't want to start another discussion in the middle of something else.
That's fine.
All right. So when I get done with this, we'll go to that. So anyway, we talked about the patches, coats. You know, we have the nice black coats. If you don't have one of the DLOA coats and you have just a black coat, that's fine. If it's really cold and nasty, you know, it's fine to wear that coat as long as that's with pants. So, you know, we don't wear coats when we wear shorts. And then the big never, and probably my biggest pet peeve is short sleeves and long pants. That's good at the Foot Locker if you're selling shoes. It's not good on the lacrosse field. So, you know, make sure you have all the right stuff in your bag and we're all looking good. So tidy boxes. And when I'm talking about the boxes, I'm talking about the substitution box. Many of our teams understand the substitution box. I think some of our teams, and it's not always their fault, but, some of these teams show up with 2 coaches. They really don't have adequate management, and you end up with both teams sitting right at the center line or guys in the box all the time. That's a recipe for disaster. It looks bad, and we shouldn't have it. So make sure you're reviewing Rule 21, Rule 4, Section 21, all of Article 1, okay, and understand how the box works. The big things here is the player can't enter the substitution area until his substitution is imminent. And imminent basically means the guy he's subbing for is on his way off the field. Not, I'm here for the Fogo, and he's still out there fighting for the thing, so I should be standing in here. It means it's imminent. Right before they're going to sub in is when they should come in. The player leaving the field always has the right of way. Okay. There's a whole bunch of things, but the box should be clear. And a couple things with that. When you get to the field, you're looking at all your field setup. Make sure they have cones and they're in the right place. Cones, it's best to have the nice big pylons that are weighted at the bottom, but make sure those cones are there. I like to make a point that I have them in the right spot. That tells everybody you're looking for it. When somebody's serving a penalty, a lot of times the guy comes right to the center line, right on the sideline, and kneels down. That's not the right place to serve a penalty. It should be 5 yards off of the line and adjacent to their team area. They should be over on their team side. They shouldn't be in the area where players are substituting. All the players should be in their team area. The coaches area should be clear. You want to avoid players at the scorer's table. Often in either a blowout or a game where guys don't play, they all want to be around the girls at the scoring table. Okay. We want to avoid that. Even if they're JV players and they're just hanging out, we want to clean that up. The best way to deal with this is to be preventative. Don't face off. Don't allow a restart if you're having box problems. Clear the box. Whoever is on the wing, keep your hand up till the box is clear. In the beginning, warn them, clear the box, clear the box. We're not starting until we clear the box. And then after you've had to warn them a couple of times, wait. If your 20-second timer goes off, hit them with a delay of game. But we want to make sure they understand how to clear the box. With that, don't focus on it during play too much, but if you're running up from the trail to the lead and there's a ton of guys in the box, yell, clear the box. If you're having problems with the box during substitutions, the next dead ball, go to the coaches. Coaches, I'm asking you one more time, clear the box. But we need to make sure we do that, or else you end up with all kinds of issues, okay? And you're not going to see those issues because you're not looking at them. Dead ball officiating, all right? First rule to me at dead ball officiating is make sure everybody understands the play is over. Just because you blew your whistle doesn't mean everybody stops playing, okay? And if you blow your whistle and you look in another direction, and then all of a sudden you get a big hit, you get a punch, you get 2 guys going chest to chest, and you don't have any idea how it started or what happened, it makes it very hard to deal with. Make sure before you do anything else, everybody has separated. So even on a goal, don't totally start running to your position. Don't bend over and pick up the ball until you've seen the 2 teams separate. If it was a timeout at a contentious time on a ride or something like that, make sure everybody stopped. They're moving towards their benches. You're always jogging to your next position, particularly after a goal. All right. We always want to come together on timeouts and quarter breaks. Don't rely on, some kind of just sight communication. Come together, talk for a second. You want to confirm how many timeouts you've used. You want to confirm all kinds of things. All right. And make sure, you're coming together. Even if you're talking about where you're going to get a beer, it looks good to everybody if you're talking, don't be a card writer. I know we have a lot of guys, and I give guys shit all the time. As soon as the goal's scored, they pull their card out and write the score. That's fine. If you want to keep score, but look at Rule 2, 6, sections 4 and 7. There's nothing about having a right on your card. It just says your score is the official score. Keep an eye on the scoreboard. When you get to your spot, so if you're going to the wing or you get to the face-off, you want to pull out your card real quick and write on it, that's fine. But to me, the only time you're writing on your cards is on a timeout, a stoppage of play after everybody's where they belong. And the other thing we want to enforce this year is timeouts in the bench area. A lot of these teams call timeout, and they go all the way, sometimes into the offensive box to have their timeout. So we all should be, as soon as there's a timeout, push them. They don't have to be off the field. They can be on the field, but on their sideline in their bench area. We don't want them up by the midfield line. We want them kind of in a controlled area. So make sure we're doing a good job with that. And if we all do it and we all enforce it, a week into the season, all this stuff is over. Exit plans. Always look to park. We want to get out of there. Most days it's fine. We walk off the field, we jog off the field. Everybody says, good job, Stripes. We go on our way and we're fine. You're going to have 2 or 3 of those games where it's not that easy. Plan for those contingencies, plan for those games. When you park close to the exit, if you can, away from the fans' exit. So if there's a small cut through that gets you to the parking lot, off one side of the field, do that. You also want to get, if the exit's where all the fans are exiting, you want to get through there before they've even figured out what's happened. You want to discuss with your partners your exit plan at pregame. Hey, how are we getting out? Where are we parking? All that. And then just remind each other of the fourth quarter or all timeouts inside 5 minutes. Just make sure you know what you're doing. And the big thing with that too is if you brought jackets to the field, make sure you'd understand who's picking up the jackets. And generally that's going to be the trail who's going to run by the bench on his way out the field, runs, grabs the jackets, and you guys jog off the field. We're good to go. Don't bring anything you aren't willing to leave. If it's a bad situation and you've got to go over and get something, your keys or whatever, a bag, you're putting your whole crew into jeopardy, potentially. So don't bring anything. You don't need to bring anything you're not willing to leave. Keep your keys in your pocket, and you always leave the field and get to your car together. And don't just get in your car and take off and leave your partner there, for even a minute. Make sure you're rolling out together. Keep everybody safe. Conduct fouls on players. Okay. If it doesn't deserve a minute, warn them. So if 2 guys come together and they're talking about how ugly their mama is, separate them, tell them to knock it off. Okay. If it rises to the level where they're cussing, it's getting racial, it's getting profane, put them in the box. Figure out who's doing it, put them in the box for a minute. Okay. Don't use conduct fouls. Kids don't understand the idea of a conduct foul. They don't understand possession. Also, when you try to give a conduct foul to a kid and then all of a sudden you've taken the ball away and restarted play, nobody knows what's going on. So save those for the coaches that just won't shut up. The George Carlin rule. Those are the words, okay? Are any of you too young to know who George Carlin was? The 7 dirty words. You hear those? That's an unsportsmanlike foul, okay? I always like to look at a kid, if he's getting a little out, would you say that to your grandma? But the point is, unsportsmanlike conduct for a minute to kids if you feel their behavior is bad enough. If you can warn them, if you can talk them out of it, that's great. And then finally, my last thing here is the GLE hanger-outers. You got to run out your shots, okay? Too much can happen behind the goal on a shot. Too many times the 2 guys are too close and you're standing there on goal line extended 50 yards from the play and you're trying to make a judgment. And even if you get lucky and you get it right, everybody's perception is your judgment's poor because you're not in position. Run out shots, even weak shots. Take a step or 2, run out, point. Also, with that, you don't want to camp back on the edge of the box and do everything you need to do from there. When plays close to the goal, you need to get up close to the goal. Your movement as the lead should be very fluid, back and forth and in and out. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I have a question about like when the game ends stuff.
Yep.
So I know we've talked about like knowing who gets the jackets and who gets like whatever. When the clock hits zeros, are we immediately leaving, or do we wait for to watch the two teams cross,
Or
or
immediately leaving.
immediately getting out of there?
Yeah.
So
And the only caveat to that, if the game ends in a flurry, make sure everybody stood up and started walking towards their benches. We don't want that look where we've turned our back on a fight right then. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay. All right, Ryan, you're the kid's helmet coming off. And JP can probably give a good answer on this, Frank. My thing would be, and I've seen it all the time, if it came off and it wasn't a foul, let him put it back on, at least the first time. Okay. Now, if it came off and you had to kill play and it was loose, you got to go to AP. But I think you want to be careful when it's that vital of a piece of safety equipment, trying to assess some kind of foul for improper equipment. Now, if you've told the kid 10 times to buckle it up and he didn't buckle it up and then it falls off and stops play, then yeah, by all means, give him a foul for illegal procedure, and move on. Does that answer it?
Yes, that's the answer. I just remembered something happening. It was a couple years ago in a Maryland playoff game, and Maryland got dinged for losing a glove or something, and it just kind of rang a bell. So I wanted to run it by you.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole thing. We've had the discussion. If the defense loses a piece of equipment and keeps playing, that's a foul. If the offense loses a piece of equipment, you kill play, assuming the offense had possession and you just restart. There's that little misnomer. So, I mean, I can't speak to that. But if a kid loses his safety equipment and keeps playing, particularly a defenseman, that's going to be a foul because you had to kill play and take the advantage away.
Now, if the ball's loose, do you use AP?
Well, if the ball's loose and a kid loses a piece of equipment, there's your excuse to award the ball.
Yeah, if
You
he
know what I
stays
mean?
in play without his equipment on
Then
his
he's
ball,
playing. He's not
Yeah.
properly equipped. He's playing.
It's the
ball.
same
gotta
as
get
playing without your stick. You lost your stick. Okay, boom. Now I can kill this play, and we award the ball, and we've avoided everything else.
Got it.
All right, give me a second. I'm going to switch slides here.
Greg, while you're doing that, James Kite, I just sent you a text message. Check your phone and get back to me as soon as you can. Thanks.
All right, can you guys see?
Sorry, James. This is JP. Thanks.
Can you guys see returning officials module 2A?
yes.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to spend a few minutes talking about advanced positioning and transition tips and a couple other things. One big thing is mistakes. All right, everybody makes mistakes, whether it's pointing in the wrong direction, whether it's improperly adjudicating a foul, you missed an offside, something like that. Mistakes are going to happen. Our game moves very fast. It's very fluid. Things happen sometimes out of nowhere. And you're trying to keep the game moving and all that, you could make a mistake. And kind of with this picture, good sailors were never made, on a nice smooth sea. You learn how to really hone your craft when the weather's rough, when things are hard, the waves are beating on you and all that. That's when you get very good, So in those cases, you're going to make some mistakes. So here's a big one. I'm sure everyone here has done it. I'll own it. I did it last year a couple times. You get confused who had the ball. You count a team off sides, and then you realize they had the ball. What do? You have an inadvertent flag. As soon as you can stop play that doesn't disadvantage the offense, you stop play. Well, in this case, offense has the ball. You just kill it, pick up your flag, you explain to everybody what happened, and you move on. So you use kind of this acronym, PACE, performance after critical error. So you're going to be judged more on your behavior after the mistake. How did you handle the mistake? What did you do with the mistake? How did you fix it? Often than you are on the mistake, you know, and it's going to go better if you behave properly. You know, if you not behave properly, but if you do the right things. If you cower, you say, oh shit, I screwed that up, I'm sorry. You know, if you cower, if you look unconfident and all that, it's going to be worse for you. So the best thing to do, you know, hey, coach, I screwed up, you know, and here JP had to do this on Friday with Coach Shea a couple times, and it went just like this. And he was like, okay, that's fine. You know, coach, we screwed that up. Here's the fix. I'm kidding. He didn't screw anything up on Friday, if you watch the game. Discuss with the crew. Okay, what do we have? What was going on? Make sure everybody understands. Explain it to the coaches. And notice that that's plural. When you've had a mistake, when something bad's happened, when something's going to change, make sure both coaches have an understanding, and then give everybody the full 20 seconds to sub all their players and then restart. You don't have to hurry after a mistake. Okay, and that kind of goes to that PACE acronym. You know, when there's been a mistake, you know, everything's screwed up, slow it down, get it right, make sure we have an understanding. You know, the worst thing that can happen sometimes, you know, you point in the wrong direction, guy picks up the ball, you blow the whistle, it's the wrong guy, they throw the ball in the goal. What are you going to do? You know, so when you make a mistake, stop, hold your hands up, acknowledge the mistake. The 7 C's, and this all goes with mistakes, and it goes just with you as an official. You always want to look competent, right? I got this. I'm the guy. I understand what's going on. It's all in your body positioning, in your posture. It's in how you talk to somebody. Hey, I got this, coach. We're good. Okay. Communication. All right. Communication is super important. In this case, making sure everybody knows where the ball is. You don't want to have a restart after a penalty, a dead ball, a crazy situation or something like that, when especially the goalie doesn't know where the ball is. You know, you want to communicate that. That's this picture, but you want to communicate everything. When the wheels have come off a little bit, you don't have to restart until everybody understands. As an official in general, 80% of your job is just communicating what's going on. We had what was the foul, who was it on, where are we going? If you skip the communication part and somebody's confused, you know, you create bigger problems for yourself. Compassion, you know, and this is kind of nice, you know, the official's looking at the coach obviously upset, his kid's probably hurt. You know, coach, I understand, I'm with you, we'll be looking for late hits. You know, coach, I understand you're upset. I understand this is an upsetting situation for you. You know, I get that having the ball was very important to you. We're doing our best. You know, always go at a guy with compassion. Don't go at a guy like, you know, he's being a total jerk, you know, or he's being unreasonable. Consistency, you know. Sometimes, we're fighting for consistency all the time, but if you had a foul, like in this case, hey, we threw the same flag on them in the second quarter. This is the same thing. It's the same situation. You know, go after them. Make sure you can show and reflect your consistency. Now, I'm not sure Coach Petramala is buying that, but hopefully you guys won't be seeing Coach Petramala this year. Conviction. You know, here, this official, I'm 100% certain. I got my hand up. You can see it in his posture. I had a push. There's no question in my mind, and we're going that way. You know, when you make a call, show your conviction, okay? And then courage. You know, stay focused. Be ready to make the big call, okay? So those are the 7 C's. Does anybody out there have anything that has helped them through getting through mistakes or anything like that they would like to share?
Be calm.
Be cool and calm.
Yeah. Yep. Often when everybody else gets overly excited, if you can be cool, you can settle down most situations. You know, you don't want to be the one ramping up the issue. So that's great advice. Anybody else? All right.
Don't be cocky.
Don't be, yep. Well, that's the compassion part, I think, too. If you go at them like,
Yeah, that's fair.
cocky, like, hey, you're stupid. I don't believe you didn't see that, coach, but I saw it. That's much different than, coach, I just didn't see it the way you saw it, but I'm pretty sure what I saw. It's a whole different dynamic. And the coach is already upset. And the reality is, when you make a call, you don't have a lot to lose by that call. You don't really care which way the ball is going or who's in the penalty box or anything like that. But all that is super important to the coach. So, keep all that in mind. All right. Talk about a little bit of advanced positioning. And this goes with consistency. So in two-person mechanics, we've always and I talked about this in my pet peeves, kind of had this idea we need to kind of straddle GLE all the time. Okay. But we don't really want to, in today's game, as fast as it's moving, we want to be moving along this line and back and forth along this line. So if the play is going behind, okay, we're going to want to drop below a little bit. I'll be honest, if a shooter is here, okay, I'm gonna pull up a little bit on the line so I don't take that shot if I'm below the line. So we want to move on the situation. 100%. If play is back here, we want to be down here. Consequently, when we move, our partner needs to move. So if we're up above GLE or on GLE, this would be his standard position. But if we drop way below, we want to have this official down here to help us with the goal and things like that if things come back. So, we want to be thinking about that when we're positioning ourselves. Don't just, it used to be don't let the grass die under your feet. How many times do you hear coach tell you that? You want to keep moving. It's the same with officiating. We want to keep ourselves moving. We want to always be putting ourselves in the best position. Here's a couple examples. This official here is the lead. And you can't really see it, but off camera, this is going to be the crease down here. So this guy's moving to the crease. So this official, what he wants to do is kind of get behind and follow him in to get the best view of what happens. Did he get pushed? Did he step in the crease? Especially now that we're talking about dives and all that, did he leave his feet? If we stay way back here, we might miss that. Another player might get in our way. This defender might get in the way. So he's thinking here, he's got a guy driving to the goal. All right, I need to get behind him and follow him in. Okay. This is always a good practice. Right here, it's with the trail. Okay. It's kind of a quiet time for him. He's thinking about, okay, what are all the things I got to worry about here? All right. Yep. I got the shooter. So I got to keep an eye on the shooter. That's my first job. I'm the trail. I've also got my goal. I got to be thinking about over and back, and I've got my sideline. I'll do this a lot when, because, when we're on offense, and we've been on offense for a little while, I want to make sure I know if a guy steps in a crease, which color is the one I have to kill the play for, because I've messed it up and it's embarrassing, and it kills the flow of play. So I'll be sitting there as the lead saying, okay, Blue's got the ball, so if Blue goes in the crease, I'm going to kill it. You're just always kind of trying to think one step ahead. The same with the single. The single should be thinking about the shooter. He should be thinking about his sideline. If the ball is going back and there's going to be an over and back, he's going to have the restart. So you want to be just thinking about what your responsibilities are in each position all the time. It's a little more advanced, but for everybody in this room, we've all been around for a few years, so we should be thinking about these things and keeping it fresh in our mind. All right. Here's the same idea with the three-person mechanics. All right. So we're all kind of locked on the lead here. So if the lead goes down, and in three-person, you can really stay down here with the play, with the ball handler and the defender, you know, and be in such better position. But when you do that, your singles got to come in a little bit and have the goal for you, you know, and your trail's got to come down and help that single out a little bit, you know. So we want to be thinking beyond just the standard positions we learned when we learned the mechanics. And we'll do some of this on the 8th, is really kind of turning it into almost, you know, like an off a play, like when you have a play, okay, I got to be here, I got to be there, and making sure we're all thinking, you know, and moving our feet and being in the best position we can be. So here's another picture. So over here you have the single, okay? Here's the single. He's got a guy probably coming in on the goal, so he's got to keep an eye on the shooter. He's also, you know, I got to be watching the back. I got to be watching the back, okay? He's making sure the lead that he steps above GLE so he gets the best angle at the crease because the player's coming towards him, and the best angle at the goal. So they're working together and they're thinking as they work. Here, the goal always needs coverage, okay? So the lead, he's talking to himself, okay, I got to move to improve, but I do know I should have confidence that the single has the goal line. You know, he's there. He's marking that while I get back into position, okay? And in three-person mechanics, it's easier to always provide that goal coverage because you have two guys right down by the goal. So it's very easy for the single to drop down and cover the goal while the lead is behind or following the play or something like that. Two-man, it takes more of a challenge. Okay, and that's where in the very first slide, the trail dropping down when you have a lot of play near the crease is going to be more and more important to catch late hits, pushes, even crease violations. Okay, and so we need to be working together. We need to be thinking together about these things. Okay, again, here's the trail reviewing his responsibilities. I think this is a great practice at any position. You know, you're just kind of constantly reviewing. It's kind of like on the first night when I talked about anticipating, you know, in this position, what could happen and what do I need to be thinking I need to do, you know, rather than just watching a good lacrosse game. Okay. Anybody have anything on that?
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, Mike.
I've always thought most of the issues I have that I've had through the years is when I've lost focus. So if you try to stay focused, I know like some of these games when they're anything like that, like those are the times like he has to focus because the moment we don't, or when things go wrong.
Yep. No, that's an awesome point. Mike, your microphone is breaking up a little bit, but he's talking about keeping focus, you know. And if anybody, JP or Frank or anybody, you know, any of you guys have been around for a while, how do you keep your focus? Because, you know, in a close game, a good game, an exciting game, it's sometimes easier to keep your focus than in a, you know, a blowout. So what are some things we can do to really help us keep our focus?
I got an idea. So just like for me being a former player, like especially like you talked about, like anticipating in some of the, you know, kind of worst Delaware games, I always think like, okay, so let's say I'm the trail, you know, my responsibility is, like you said, like those four things. And I'm kind of watching, like if the ball goes behind, I'm kind of watching like the inside play and everything. I'll think to myself like, all right, that guy on the crease hasn't moved in the past like 15 seconds. Like he should be cutting. He should be, you know, like what would I do if I was that player? Or like, you know, you're the on ball guy or like you're the lead, you know, God, this guy has just been holding the ball. He hasn't dodged, you know, like what would I do? Like I would, you know, try to take the guy top side or so on and so forth. And that at least kind of, you know, in a perfect world kind of keeps your head just thinking about the play and then also being able to kind of anticipate his options and what he might be able to do.
Yep. No, I think that anything you can use to keep your head in there, you know, is great. I think, you know, sometimes from a coaching, you know, former coach, you know, what would I be doing? Anybody else have anything? Tricks, one thing that does come to mind for me, and in 2-person, if you're running left here, okay, and all the scoring's happening at this goal, right? That means this guy is literally, he's doing a face-off coming over here, doing a face-off coming over here, doing a face-off coming over here. That's all he's doing. Switch. You get in a blowout, you get in a game like that, switch. You don't have to be married to your sideline. It's fine to switch. The same in a 3-person game. I think I have a 3-person slide here. So, a lot of times this guy here ends up in the rocking chair. He's always running right. He's always running right. These 2 guys are switching. They're running back and forth to the goals. They're always driving down on the goals. You've had all the action spin down here. After 4 or 5 minutes of that, switch. Keep yourself involved in the game. That's one sure way to do it. Sometimes if I know my partner well, I start to make a little more contact with them and, make sure that we're just kind of keeping each other awake. Maybe kind of, with our expressions, making a little bit of a joke or something, just to keep us in the game. Especially you get in some of those real killers where, you're trying to get to running time or you're in running time and the game, has just kind of fallen apart. You want to keep focused because you don't want to miss that one big thing where somebody's going to get hurt or something like that. So we always want to keep focused. That's super important. Here's a couple transition tips. So basically when you're in 2-person mechanics, we want to always be getting outside to play. I know we've always talked about coming straight up the field, kind of take a little bit bigger angle. I don't know that you necessarily have to go outside the cone, but kind of get out here out of the wing line. It gives you a better perspective for counting off sides because you'll have all the play over here in front of you. You won't have guys maybe behind you, particularly when you've got something going on really hard here that gets you outside to play and then come down. Same with when you're coming from here to here, instead of trying to run straight through the play, kind of run and get outside the wing here. You certainly want to hightail it through this area in case there's subs, and then get out here. The same thing, you're going to keep all the play here. You're not going to end up with a clearing guy getting on this side of you where you've got to try and judge your sideline from there. So when we're moving, try to think of moving more in these kind of banana cuts, rather than just like a straight line all the time. That's some advanced positioning. When we're doing that running, stay focused. Hopefully you can run with your head turned a little bit, or you can side shuffle, or you can backpedal. That way you're always focused on what's going on. This guy's able to see, okay, they're still clearing, this ball's still moving forward, so I can get to, I can get to my spot. He's going to be the lead. Always remember, the trail jogs, the lead runs. So here's the trail official. He's in great position because the keeper's here and he's behind him. So if anything goes south, he's in good position, to get back to the goal. And referee all that kind of stuff. So when you're the trail, you don't have to hurry, and a lot of that, you got to trust your partner. Once the play gets over the midline, take a good jog, get up to the midline, start your count and do all that. Same kind of concept in 3-person mechanics. Certainly the single, we want to have him go to the cone. All right. That person should be at the cone, because he's looking down, looking for offsides, looking for that kind of stuff, making sure nothing goofy happens here. This old lead is going to take their time coming up. Sometimes it's good, not every time. Come up here and stand at this cone while they're subbing. Be present. Also gives that coach a chance to ask you a question. And then, of course, if you stop there, once subbing's done, kind of jog through. Give him the same opportunity and then get to your spot. You don't always have to make that big of a route, but it's always good to kind of come come along there just in case there's anything they want to communicate to you. And then the lead, again, the same idea as we had with the other lead. Get outside of these lines so you're not stuck in the middle of play. It also helps you watch the play come towards you as far as counting players, and it prevents play from getting outside of you and between you and the sideline. You know, here's a trail official. Okay, former lead, going to be the trail. Okay, he says, I've got the crease, I got the count. My partners have everything up front. Take care of your job. When you're in his position, you don't have to worry about GLE. You don't have to worry right now about a late hit. You know, you have to worry about what's going on the crease, and then the count for the goalie. And then once everything starts, then you can take care of other responsibilities. So don't try to do too much. Slow break, okay, in a 3-person, and even sometimes, well, not a 2-person, but you know, this is the best position. This official can see everything going on right here. He can see how many players are on each side. He can count. He can keep a count for offsides. He can also see anything going on in here, you know, which is kind of important because you've got this guy all the way down here and you've got another official all the way down here. He's got all this, and he's in the best spot. So when you have a slow break and you're in a 3-person, get to that spot and hang out there. Once play moves by and gets 5 or 10 yards down, then you can jog into position. Chris had a chat. In 3-person, when I'm on single side, I found that it's very helpful to me and the lead to announce I have their goal when they're behind the goal for a start of a scrum. Any kind of communication is always good. You know, I'm in, I got you. You know, that kind of communication is very good, especially in that kind of a game, to let him know he can relax a little bit because you have everything covered. So that's a very good point. Fast breaks. Okay. This is a single side official. All right. And the last slide, you know, showed him stopping at the cone because it was a slow break. Fast break, he's kind of counting who's running by. He looks ahead. He knows he's got less than 6 or less than 7 defenders. He can just blow right by that cone and get down. It's more important to get down and referee what's going on at the goal on a fast break than it is to stand at the midline, because you're probably not going to have anything happen and you still have the trail behind you. JP, go ahead.
No, I'm just playing. I don't have anything, nothing.
Wait, you had an itch? All right. So fast break on a single, you know, get down, help your partner. And then this is a lead official. All right. Get to the GLE, let the play come to me. Okay. In this case, it's very important to work hard to get where you're going to be needed. You know, if it's a slow break or a settle restart, all he's got to do right now is worry about getting close to GLE so he can referee everything coming in. He'll be there. So you really want to work hard. Don't stop until you get to where you need to be. Anybody have anything on that anymore? I like it when I get a little more input. All right, real quick, this is just a review. 2-person restarts. So this is, you have your lead and your trail. Just remember what your responsibilities are on the restarts. The lead, okay, and in this case, if we have a restart, you know, the lead has this line, the lead has this sideline with his back to it. The trail still has this end line and this sideline. On a deep restart, our former trail, new lead, we want to get that person all the way down here, but he's not going to start play until he gets the signal from him that this guy is inbounds. And then this official is going to make sure this is the right spot to restart, especially with our quick restarts. You know, you want to be careful that when you have this kind of deep restart, this player doesn't, go down here, pick up a ball, and try and run all the way up here. He's got to come in, got to settle his feet. Then you're gonna start. Even if he tells you he's ready, you're the commander of this restart. Okay, and that's to this point. We don't want to blow through red lights. So when we have a restart, you're always looking up at your partner real quick. If he's still got his hand up, okay, that's a red light. He's got something he's not comfortable with us starting yet. And then, especially on the slow restarts, you're waiting for the green light. So, on a fast restart, take that quick glance. As long as he doesn't have his hand up, okay, then I'm going to start. I'm not going to wait for him to get his hand out or anything like that on a fast restart. But on a slow restart, I'm waiting till that official is pointing in the direction that I'm going, and then I'm going to restart when I get his go. Okay, 3-person, it's a little bit different. So the deep restart, and this is a little bit different. So you have the trail stays back here. The single comes right up to the cone. This is a settled restart. The lead is all the way down at their goal. We're going to restart here. In this case, it's best for the single to manage his restart. So if it's kind of in this area, just let the single manage it, because the single can see when the player's in bounds. He can see when there's 5 yards. He's got the best view of that. Okay, the trail is still here in case the ball comes back or the clear comes back and the lead's up here in position. Everybody understand that? So you don't want the single restarting the play down here. If the play was restarting down here, the single would kind of be the stop sign, and he would put his hand out to tell you everything's ready, and then the trail would do the restart. George, go ahead.
Greg, what do you like to do? How do you like to communicate with your partner? Let's say you're the single. Do you yell, "I've got it, I got it," or "You've got it," or how do you like? Or do you do it with hand signals? How do you like to do it when you're?
Generally, I'll just tap my chest if it's mine. I'll hold my hand up. I'll tap my chest that I got it. If I'm close enough, I'll yell, "I got it." But most guys, it's just a tap on the chest. I got it. I think it's good to know, and for consistency, if we all restart single restarts in this area, particularly on this sideline, that's the best way to go. The trail has other responsibilities, and the lead is up here. The other place you'll see George's question. So let's just pretend that we were set up here and we had a trail here, okay, and a single here, and you had a shot go out of bounds. So if the shot goes out of bounds below GLE, okay, this trail is going to blow it out. He's going to blow the ball out of bounds and award the ball. But often it's better for this lead to take a step or two back, and he'll conduct the restart. The same when you have something way down in this area, let the single conduct that restart rather than the lead always start it. But to George's point, make sure you're communicating who's got the restart. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Okay. Whistle ready. So we're talking about restarts. Now we're talking about quick restarts. You want to be what's called whistle ready. All right. So this official has his finger whistle, in his mouth. He's ready to go. A lot of us prefer to use a lanyard whistle. All right. So I prefer to carry both, but I keep that lanyard whistle in my mouth all the time. So I'm always ready. I drop it out if it's a time I shouldn't be blowing my whistle, but I keep it in there so that I'm ready to go. All right. And his quote, "Players aren't going to wait on me today." As soon as he knows his partners are ready and it's good to restart, he can go. There's no hesitation. He doesn't have to pick his whistle up. He doesn't have to find it or anything like that. And then using dead ball time efficiently, I talked about, in general, but here, you have a kind of a slow restart. This official's jogging to get into position. I don't have to really worry about anything here. This is particularly good when you're the new lead, getting below the boxes, getting out of the way of substitution, getting to your sideline. getting to a spot you can see it. Don't walk, jog, make sure you're in position ready for the restart. And then the last thing is selling calls. Okay, often on something close, how everything goes after that close play has to do with how we sell it. So in this case, and I don't know how well you can see this, so there's a shot, and looking at it from this angle, there's clearly a goal. You know, you see the net move down here and puff. Problem is, this guy doesn't do anything. It's really his call. Okay, you got some players celebrating, you got some players not. He finally, as the single, comes in, kind of puts his hand up. Okay. Two ways I think to handle this, and JP, Frank, Kyle, if you want to jump in. The first way I would handle it as this single, blow the whistle. As soon as, okay, so we're not sure what's going on. He hasn't called it a goal. As soon as the blue guy gets the ball and everybody else has stopped and celebrating, kill the play, run over, tell your partner, I had it in the goal. I had it in the goal. And then both of you come up big. We have a good goal. That's a good way to sell that. The other is, okay, especially if the ball's bouncing around, you don't have something as clean as that. You're the single, okay, come running over, okay, blowing your whistle, get in the crease, and you just call the goal. If you're 100% sure. The best way, of course, is to get together with your partner, tell them it was a goal, and both of you put your hand up. But if something bad is going to happen, it is okay to run over there and do that. But the point is, you want to sell that goal, okay? It's hard to see, that it went in. I had to look at it a couple times and focus down on this bottom part of the goal here to see it puff, okay? It definitely, there's no question about it. But he's not in a great position to see it. We need to sell it. If we don't sell it, okay, even though it was a goal and we got it right, the defense is going to be angry because they have a doubt in their mind. If you don't have a doubt in your mind, it goes back to the 7 C's. You're confident and you have conviction that it was a goal, and everything you do tells you that, it's going to go much better. So here's another one. Okay. Clearly has a crease violation. That official comes running over, flapping his hands, points in the direction. There is no question that guy was in the crease. Also, the whole way over, he's looking at the single just to make sure we don't have a push. All right. But, that's just great salesmanship on that play. We especially since the ball was in the goal. We definitely have no goal. We have no goal. He was in the crease, and he was in the crease before the ball went in. So selling our calls, being confident in what we're doing is very important. You guys have anything on that?
I agree with everything you said.
Yep. Another place sometimes you got to sell is if you had a weak foul or a foul people didn't see. When you signal it with confidence. If you're confident in it, in your signal, it's going to sell the call much better. All right. The final thing I want to talk about tonight is fights. And we have to talk about this every year. And I don't know the statistics. Bill Caddy could tell us better if we had more or fewer fights. Fights happen, unfortunately. And we have a certain protocol we follow, and the DIAA has a certain protocol. Most of these fights are now on video, so it's easy to go back afterwards and figure out who did what. From my perspective, I want to make sure we're doing the right things, okay? And we're catching as much as we possibly can. They're super chaotic. There's all kinds of things going on. You're trying to figure out who's fighting. You got other guys running around. You got people screaming, and sometimes if you're at Hodgson, you got the mamas getting involved and they're fighting each other. So, we want to make sure we do the right thing. So I want to review this mechanic. In this case, we've got something going on here. We got the lead, we got the trail. Okay. Fight breaks out. Immediately, that lead is going towards there. I'm not saying to get in there and break up that fight. That's totally your call. Okay. At the very least, all right, we are, I wish the whistle came up first. So at the very least, when you make that move over here, you're blowing your whistle. Tweet, 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 and you're throwing your flags. Let everybody know you got it, you're there. Hopefully that'll slow things down a little bit, okay? At the same time, and here's where we got in trouble a couple times, this person, okay? Your tendency is to go and help, right? But once you've done that, what have you done? You got 20 guys here.
You ignore the bench.
20 guys there. You've turned your back to the bench, okay? This person has to manage the benches. So he's going to turn. She's going to turn. Kind of the dotted line is holding your hands out. Freeze. All right. He should blow his whistle. She should blow her whistle. Flags should be flying. All right. And at that point, that's a good time to get your card out and start writing numbers down. You know, who came off the bench? Who did you see for this person? Who did you see was involved? Okay. Get as many of those numbers as you can, as much of that as you possibly can. Remember, the head coach is allowed to go out and get their player. Okay. Assistant coaches, other players, by rule, are not allowed to go out. Okay. And don't get confused. They change. I know Hernandez told me they changed some things in basketball this year. They have not told us any changes in the procedures for how coaches handle fights. Okay. So by rule, an assistant coach hits the field, even to break up the fight, that coach should be ejected. All right. Off the record, if the fight's happening here, an assistant coach runs out, grabs this guy and pulls him on the sideline, I'm not throwing him out. But if he comes running over here and does not control his players here, he's done. Does that make sense to everybody? Three-person, a little bit easier because you have three people. Let me go back to, I want to go back to two-person for 1 second, if I can. Well, my computer's going to lock up, of course. So the one thing I do want to say is it doesn't necessarily have to be lead and trail the way it is. So the person closest to the fight goes in, blows their whistle, throws their flags. The person, can everybody still hear me because my computer's spinning?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. We'll see if it stops spinning. But anyway, the person closest to the fight gets into the fight. The person who's closest to the benches or has the best angle to the benches would go to the benches. So in an example, like let's say this one, let's say the fight was actually, let's say it was here. This guy could go to there, then, hang on a second. So this guy would go into the fight. I would like to see this person come up and freeze the benches, this person come over and assist with the fight. Does that make sense? So we don't have to be totally married to that position. This is an easy one because the fight's all the way over there. But if you have a fight somewhere else, you know, your positions might be a little mixed up. But if you see in two-person, you see one person going into the fight, you go get the benches. In three-person, you don't see anybody going to the benches, go get the benches, let everybody else handle the fight. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
So the other thing about fights, and again, like we said before with mistakes, if you have a, you have a break and play, there is no hurry to restart play after a fight. Okay. It's probably not good to go and try and, it's probably not good to go and restart. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're here.
we were looking at you now, but
Thank you for
Now
my
we'd
computer
see nothing.
shitting the bed as we talk. What I'm getting at is it's not as important to restart play when you've had a fight. Get everybody settled down, get everybody to their benches. You as a crew on your own, get together, figure out what you got, what you think you're going to adjudicate. Then my recommendation is then you pull the head coaches in, tell them what you're doing, then you signal what you're doing. Ejections, confirm with the coaches what's happening to the ejected parties. So, if it's the home team, can somebody take him home? Hopefully he's got a parent there, something like that. If the parent is there, tell the coach, get him out of here. Okay. If there's an AD there, they've got 6 assistant coaches there, get an assistant coach, take him in the building. Okay. If it's the away team, all right, and they've got 6 assistant coaches there, take him, get him in the bus. If the bus isn't available, have the assistant coach take him. See if you want to get that person out of there. Okay, that's the point. Short of that, if there's no way to get that person off the bench, person takes off their equipment, they sit physically on the bench. All right, and you're telling the coach, he's your responsibility. He does anything, it's on you. And that's how we handle that. If you get a situation, you're into the second or third dust up in a game, pull the coaches together. Coach, one more dust up, we're leaving. Obviously these guys aren't interested in playing anymore, so they got to show us they're interested. If we have another altercation, another fight, another almost fight, we're going to suspend the game, and that's well within your right to do. Make sure you write down the time remaining in the game and the score. Tell them what you're doing. You're gone. Let JP handle it. Let me handle it. Now it'd be Donna Polk. They can decide if it's worth getting back to that game. Remember, as far as numbers of players, I know we had the crazy thing with the one basketball game where they ended up playing 3-on-1 at the end. If you've gotten to that point, go home. We'll support you. Right, JP?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and again, avoiding fights. If you're doing your job and you're diligent, you can stop 95% of the fights before they start, or you can keep it to one fight. You take control and it's over. If you are not managing the game well, if you are missing things, if you're not focused and things are happening and the teams don't feel like you're managing things, unfortunately, their reaction is to take it into their own hands. So once you have that first dust up, you got to get together as a crew, and that's where you got to really focus on what you're doing and how you're doing it. I'm not saying fights are our fault, but if we're controlling the game and we're managing the game properly, 9 times out of 10, we can avoid most of those fights. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, I do. What happens if there's a fight in the stands? Are we just ignore it and keep on playing the game?
No, do not ignore it. Don't get involved. There's no penalty for fighting in the stands. But if there's a disruption in the stands, stop the game. Get site management to clear out whatever's going on in the stands. Once it's cleared out, ask the site management, can we continue? The best thing for you is to go somewhere far away from what's going on in the stands. But don't continue play until they've fixed whatever it is. Because anytime there's something going on and you don't know who's fighting, and what kid and where that started, and the kids are going to react to that fight. So you don't want to continue the game when you've got that huge disruption going on. You stop the game, you get site management to fix the problem, you restart the game. And at that point, since you have fan issues, I would always write to the AD, whoever's in charge, is it safe to restart the game? You know, put it on them to, you know, I want to make sure before I start this, you think we're going to be okay. JP, is that accurate to you?
Yes. Yes. Make sure that if there's no site ID or site AD, then get to the home head coach, and until those fans are removed, don't start again.
Yep. And again, I'm going to send out some stuff. We are going to ask in our pregame emails this year to know who the site management's going to be. It's not always going to be an athletic director, an assistant athletic director. Often it's going to be the home coach, but we want to make sure before a game starts, who do we go to when we have an issue? You know, we have a fan who's working us too hard. We've got some kind of an issue that we can't fix. If it's the head coach, we go to the head coach. We don't go into the stands to remove people. Our line is always going to be, the game is stopped till those fans are gone. Let the AD go remove the fans. Don't tell the fan he's kicked out. Put that on them. That's the way we handle that. All right, that is the end of my portion. Does anybody else have anything? Is that it? Nobody has any? No more questions? All right, I will send out some more stuff about the 8th. We're very excited about that. That should be a great day. Please make sure you have your blocks in, that all that stuff is settled. Also, I think, you know, he was in charge of the pro-Russian militia in Ukraine. We found him in Moscow. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we were just about to leave.
Yeah, well, that probably would have been a smart idea. I'm done. I really have nothing else. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, particularly Bretty McBrettface.
Yeah, he's a breakfast.
Yeah. If you guys have anything, see me. The last thing I was going to say is just get out and work some games. Okay?
All right.
You guys good?
Yeah.
All right, everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.